2 weeks ago, we did an episode about pizza. Noel O'Donnell, a good friend of the show, came in to talk to us about the early days of the pizza business in the UK. Really interesting, actually. And we got a lot of comments on that show on Facebook, a lot of messages. Everybody has an opinion about pizza. It's a sensitive subject. Everybody has their favorite. They want to defend their favorites. We also talked about the forbidden subjects of ketchup on pizza. And Dr. Mike, you reminded me of the equally controversial topic. Sorry, in the show we talked about pineapple on pizza, and you reminded me, Dr. Mike, about the equally controversial topic of ketchup on pizza.
Yeah, my wife still does that, even though I try to explain to her that there is tomato paste underneath that. Putting ketchup on top of it is kind of superfluous. But yeah, it's a Polish thing. I remember coming here as a kid and seeing it and just not understanding it whatsoever.
It is a Polish thing. So in that show, we kind of talked about the Krakow Pizza scene. And in today's episode, we want to continue that theme. We want to dive a little deeper into the local scene and see if maybe possibly we can crown the best pizza in Krakow. I don't know if that's going to be possible or not. But anyway, when we first started thinking about doing these episodes about pizza, I reached out to Jonathan Ornstein, who's also a friend of the show from the Krakow JCC, because he is a pizza guy. And I messaged him and I said, look, can you give me some pointers and, you know, some names I might need to know, or what do you think about the pizza? And it quickly became very clear that it was probably a better idea just to invite him here to the studio to talk about it. And he has once again joined us here to help us in our journey to see if we can determine who has the best pizza in Krakow. So, Jonathan, welcome back to the KrakCast. Always
an honor to be here with you guys. Thank you.
All right. First of all, we need to establish your credibility as a pizza guy here. I have to say, you know, over the years, there are two subjects that I've noticed really get you excited and engaged. It's ice cream and pizza. You have strong opinions on both topics. We'll talk about ice cream a different day, but in terms of pizza, I can easily believe that if you woke up one day and for let's just say, you know, theoretically, you decided to take your life in a totally different direction professionally, I think there's a good chance that the new Jonathan Ornstein 2.0, a good chance you could be associated somehow with pizza.
I'm totally in. Jonathan 1.0. Jonathan 1.0 is ready to dive in and do Jonathan 2.0, the pizziolo.
All right.
I have worked in a pizza place back in my earlier days.
All right. You are a New York guy. For people listening who may or may not know, both Chicago and New York claim to have the definitive version of American pizza. The Chicago version, they call it deep dish. It's like really thick and deep. I have to confess, I don't really know what defines New York pizza. Can we start from there? Just tell us what New York pizza is all about.
Sure. New York, first of all, there's not really any discussion between which is the preeminent.
Yeah, Chicago people are delusional, obviously.
Obviously.
Yes.
But Chicago pizza is good. it's hard to even call it pizza.
Nice second place pizza.
It's so thick, but it's an interesting style. I also like Chicago pizza, but New York pizza is, of course, the way to go. New York pizza is more of I think the idea between New York pizza is because New Yorkers are in such a hurry all the time and want to be able to walk with their food, that it developed and became street food. So New York pizza, I think, is pizza that you can kind of lift up and like by the slice, that it has a firmer crust that you can fold in half and eat it a la John Travolta at the beginning of Saturday Night Fever, if you remember.
Reference.
A classic pizza scene where he puts the two slices one on top of each other, on top of another, and eats them together.
It's interesting that you mentioned the by the slice thing, because I think we may have mentioned this quickly in our episode 2 weeks ago, that I don't know if it's a Polish thing or European thing, but, you know, pizza is a sit-down meal. It's very rarely a to-go by-the-slice thing, whereas for you, that's kind of obvious and natural that it's a to-go food, yeah?
Yeah, so I think that the difference, like for New Yorkers, it was a slice thing that's now become a little bit fancier, that now you'll go out and have a pizza by the pie, whereas in the rest of the world, it started out as something more of a restaurant thing. You sit down, have a meal, have pizza, and now it's starting to move a little in the direction of slices.
I've seen, let me see, I think at Imjeddin, the Pizza Hut at Imjeddin, you can buy by the slice. It's a mall thing, I guess. Has anybody else seen by the slice here?
Well, there's a place on Platz Nowy that does pizza by the slice, but I wouldn't. I've never tried it.
And on Platz Dominikański, that was the first place I saw pizza by the slice here, where they also do like kebabs and other food at 3 a.m. when you're coming out of Prozac.
So there's actually very good by the slice pizza in Krakow, which is sort of they do it by weight.
By weight? So
by weight,
okay.
Which is like an Italian...
Where is this place?
Pizza al taglio. That's the style. This place called Vicente which is right next to Bunker Stucki. Bunker Stucki, very good. And they opened one also on Via del Polo. The place on Platz Nova is inedible, is terrible, but there is also a place right off Platz Nova on Warszawera, right on the corner of Warszawera and Kupa, called Coca. And he does slices that are good. There's like a nice guy there, Sicilian guy, Antonio.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
also he does these pizza pockets, which is kind of like a folded, sort of almost a calzone type pizza.
So the Coca place on Kupa. Okay, I actually know that. Plus, I didn't know that the one on Villa Pola is the same one that's by Bunker Stucki. I've eaten there a couple of times.
And it's very good.
All right, we've already got a lot of names, a lot of addresses flying around here. Okay, let's focus. Let's and again, Dr. Mike, Josh, jump in. Let's try let's see if we can narrow down Krakow's best pizza to 4, 5, 6 places. Is that even possible? And what names do you think definitely belong among the elite of Krakow pizza?
Well, we were discussing this previously in the kitchen, and my token Italian friend pointed out a few places that you guys seem to agree with. One of them was Pizza Garden on Rakowicka, right? Is that the street it's on? Yes.
Yeah.
They don't deliver, which for me is like a crime against pizza to begin with.
No.
I just don't like going to a place to eat pizza. I've never felt that place.
What's wrong with you?
I like to take it with me. I'm fine with that. Or have it delivered, and if they can do a delivery pizza well, then I know it's a good place.
Well, I'm gonna have to beg to differ here. I don't.
Jonathan,
I think
educate him, please.
If we're going to take pizza seriously, then it has to be eaten in the way that it was made to be eaten. So to say, I'm an aficionado of soup, but it has to be soup that goes well in, that is transported in styrofoam, and then I eat it in my house. It's just you wouldn't.
You should be able to carry it in your bare hands.
So let's separate the idea of pizza delivery from what is good pizza, because there's a whole category of pizza which is Neapolitan pizza, which there's really been a renaissance in Krakow, and I would say absolutely it doesn't travel. You have to eat it right when it's made. It doesn't reheat, but there's a certain type of pizza that does reheat well. So talking about Pizza Garden, it's true that they don't deliver, although we live in a world where I think everyone delivers these days, right? Because of Glovo and Uber Eats and all that. But Pizza Garden is a place that you can reheat, that the pizza does travel well, let's say. And it's an interesting story, if you want the Pizza Garden story, actually, because it's a Polish guy named Staszek, who's not from Krakow. I think his wife is actually from Krakow. And he moved to the United States, and he got a job at a pizza place, a very famous pizza place in New York City, and worked there for about 10 years and learned how to make pizza sort of from this classic place. And then he came back here and opened his own pizza place. And the first one was on Konopnicki, which was this across from Manga.
Over there by the bridge.
Which was it was really one of the few places that you can't park. You couldn't reach it by car or by foot. It was a very interesting place. You had to almost airdrop you and parachute you. But it became a very, very like a cult place, really popular place here in Krakow. And now he's moved to the corner of Rakowicka and Lubicz. And it's a very nice place there, and it's great pizza.
See, this is exactly what I said at the beginning. It was just easier to get Jonathan here in the studio and just give us the direct information. He knows everything. Okay, so it seems universally agreed that Pizza Garden is definitely on the podium when it comes to Krakow pizza, yeah?
No question. And the guy built the oven himself by hand. It's a wood-burning oven. It's a New York-style pizza, good toppings on it. He uses very fresh ingredients. He really cares. Fantastic place.
But on the other hand, they don't deliver. So there's that. Dr. Mike, how did you choose the restaurant for your wedding reception? I'm curious. No, we can't go there. They don't deliver.
No, for a wedding reception, yeah, they deliver. They have to bring in the catering food there and keep it warm enough. It was pretty fresh. It was pretty good. I can't complain.
But they didn't deliver. Okay. Anyway,
no, but I actually there is one place because I was never a big fan of like thin crust pizzas for the longest time until there was a place right across the street from me, not on Villa Pola, but around the corner in Librowszczyzna called Volcano, and I just ordered a pizza there one day. It was like thin crust. It didn't look like anything special. It just tasted fantastic. It really looked like those things thrown together, the ingredients dropped on, just rushed, and it was perfect. And that was the first time I started eating like thin crust pizzas and actually enjoying them. And yes, the truth was, I let it cool down, it just didn't taste right. It didn't reheat nicely. It was one of those weird pizzas that didn't taste as good cold as it does hot, which is usually one of those things about pizzas when they're good, either hot or cold or reheated. It was great when it was fresh. Fortunately for me, it was 50 meters from my apartment, so I could take it to go, and it was still warm.
You really don't like eating far from home, do you?
No, I don't.
Jonathan, what's your take on thin crust?
I like thin crust. I like all different crusts. Then thin crust is sort of more of a New York style, and then you have what really has become popular in the last, I would say, 7 years or so in Krakow, which is Neapolitan pizza, which is a sort of more kind of gourmet type pizza with better ingredients. They're usually very often mozzarella de bufala, so buffalo mozzarella cheese, which is the sort of the pizza, if you imagine, where it's just a few dollops of cheese in the middle of a pie, and sort of with a strong tomato sauce base, and it's almost a fluffy type crust, so you can't really pick it up and eat it, and that doesn't go well being reheated at home.
It's a fork and knife pizza.
A fork and knife pizza, which is somewhat anathema to the traditional New York slice pizza, but is very, very good. And Naples is the home of pizza, really, where pizza comes from. So you have to give respect to the Neapolitan pizza, and there are a bunch of really good places in Krakow these days that are doing it.
All right, let's get some other names in the mix here. What are the other restaurants that deserve mention here?
You're saying 00 in Podgorze is good. I went to a place this week, I have to say, since when we figured out that I was coming on the show, I had pizza at 3 different places this week.
Research.
My wife's very happy. Research. It's research. I went to a really good place, very authentic to me, a Neapolitan place on Zvyzhenitska called Sete, which was excellent pizza. Really very traditional Neapolitan pizza. You have Nolio on Krakowska, which is a traditional Neapolitan. You have Miodowa Piecek, which is good on the corner on Miodowa toward the New Jewish Cemetery. There's a very interesting place called Vincenzo Pedone on Borsucha Street, not far from Bonarka, in that area, and it's in this sort of Oshedle, this sort of little neighborhood on the corner, and it's some Italian guy that opened this pizza place in this random place, and it's like very Neapolitan pizza, and the pizza's out of this world, and it's a surreal situation because he has like one table in there. It looks like just some kind of like crappy to-go pizza, nothing special, and it's this phenomenal pizza.
How did you find a place like that?
Keep your ear to the
pizza
ground. Pizza,
Okay, interesting. One thing I noticed talking to some Polish friends about pizza, and I don't know how to interpret this, but you ask Polish people, local Polish people in Krakow, who has the best pizza, and you hear this name over and over and over on Mikołajska. What's the place I'm talking about? Cyclop.
Yeah, it's all right.
Cyclop has legendary status here, and I can't figure out if it's because of the quality of the pizza, or if it's because, Jonathan, I mentioned earlier we wouldn't talk about ice cream, but I guess we're going to talk about ice cream. The same situation where, people line up for 45 minutes to buy a scoop of ice cream at this place on Starowoshina. If it's just something I'll never understand. So where does Cyclop fit into all this?
When I moved to Krakow in 2002, Cyclop was my favorite pizza. It was decent pizza. It was very good pizza for Krakow back then. And I'm sure it's the same pizza and it's still okay. It's just that Krakow itself as a pizza city has moved on. Much like the ice cream on Starowiczna, which if you came here 30 years ago was probably the best ice cream in town, but is no longer the case.
I like that we've moved on, Cyclops. Sorry. It's time for us to see other people. I guess basically that's the conversation.
It's not you, Cyclop, it's me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're seeing with 2 eyes now rather than
I love you, but I'm not in love with you. So yeah, something like that. All right, so let's go back to our podium here. Pizza Garden is in Nullo. Was that Nullo? Sorry, 00.
TMOT is good pizza if you want to go, which is also like you also have to say what experience are you going for. Nolio is a little bit fancier. Maybe go on a date or something. They have like a mozzarella bar in the beginning.
Oh, so now we're talking about the restaurant, the furnishings.
It's also right. It's a question. You're just talking strictly pizza. Yeah. I would say strictly pizza. Yeah. There's a case to be made that this guy Vincenzo Pedone making it on Borsucha Street is probably up there.
This is the one out there in Kordvanov or something, close to Bonarka?
Near Bonarka.
Near Bonarka. So it's out there.
But then there's also the experience. So Nolio is very good pizza. It's a little bit fancier. Personally, they don't have great salads there. I'm a vegetarian, so I'm looking for a salad with my pizza usually. TMOT is a good restaurant. You can get a full Italian menu right on Karmelitska with very, very good pizza. So it kind of depends what you're going for. Do you just want pizza? Is it a late night thing? Do you want to take it home? Are you like Dr. Mike, that it's all based on the delivery aspect? Depends what we're talking here.
That's why he gets Domino's all the time. It's just delivery.
I've never eaten Domino's.
All right, some other place besides Domino's. I've never had Domino's either. Now that I think about it,
I've never had it in Poland.
No, does
it exist in Poland?
Yeah, pretty big in Poland actually.
Yeah. Jonathan, I gotta play the devil's advocate here for a second. You mentioned you're a vegetarian. Sorry, I gotta pin you against the wall on this one. Okay, to what extent does that affect your ability to judge pizza? Typically pizza is associated with meat. Are you still a good judge of pizza despite not having the meaty pizzas yourself?
I'm a great judge of pizza despite my vegetarianism, because pizza should be judged. If you're going to judge a pizza, you judge it on the margarita first and foremost. Of course, you want to add what you want to add as well.
The basic version.
You got to do it. In other words, you're judging a steak. You get the basic steak first. You can add and do whatever you want to it. But this is a key thing. If they don't do a good margarita, then it's not going to be saved generally, or it'll be hidden by some sausage or pepperoni or something.
Actually, that's an interesting point. You could make the argument that the more straightforward the pizza, the more essential elements that you focus on, the dough, the sauce, maybe the cheese, I guess, that gives you a better kind of measuring stick as to the overall quality of the entire menu, I guess. Yeah.
No question.
I think so.
No question. That's the basic.
Let me throw a couple of questions at you that came up last week. We seem to agree that when it comes to the pizza scene in Krakow, one of the curious things that you see in lots of locations is a menu that is far, far too long and complicated. Too many choices. That's what we think anyway. There are restaurants with 30, 35, 50 pizzas or whatever. What's your position on this?
I think
the more the merrier, or keep it simple?
I think it's somewhat unnecessary. My feeling is that they're not trusting the pizza eating public with being able to construct their own pizzas. So they want to suggest, have this goes well with this, goes well with that. And I think that there's an idea in Poland, which is changing, of having that you need to justify the cost of something by throwing more toppings on it. And I think the better pizza places these days, you go to a Nolio and places like this, they're not throwing all these, 7 different toppings on. You understand that the idea of the pizza is that the pizza aspect comes through. Any pizza with 5 toppings, how do you even tell what's going on underneath the toppings?
I think there's another thing we also need to discuss. Like, you decide to go to a pizza place, so don't order the pizza topped with a kebab on it. It's like you decided on a pizza, you're not eating a kebab, or a burger pizza, or a hot dog pizza. Yes, I've seen those as well. You're decided that you're gonna have a pizza. Stick to a pizza.
Pure simple pizza. Yeah.
Actually, that's an interesting idea.
All the places we're talking about here, these are all obviously small, one-off, locally owned places. In our previous episode 2 weeks ago, we also talked about the role of chains and chain pizza, and how all too often people just kind of assume that chain pizza, whether it's a big chain like Domino's or a local chain like Benoli's or what else do we have around here? Telepizza, et cetera, we just assume that it's cheap, horrible crap. Is that kind of pizza snobbery, Jonathan, or is there something to that?
I think there's something to it. It depends sort of on this. What is this? Where the city is in terms of its restaurant scene, and just in terms of pizza. So maybe in the beginning, if pizza is new in a place, which is hard to imagine these days in the world, it is. But I'm sure in some places pizza hasn't really reached. Then I would say a Pizza Hut or a Domino's would be decent. It's decent pizza. There's a quote which my wife's not listening that you say that this is a thing like pizza. They say pizza's like sex. Even when it's bad, it's never that bad, right? So I would say that in a city without a real pizza scene, then sure, Domino's or Pizza Hut's okay. But if you're in Krakow these days and you're eating Telepizza or something, it's a shame, because there's great pizza here.
Interesting quote. Yeah. All right. The difference between, what do they say, Mr. Right and Mr. Right now, right? It's just whatever's good enough for the moment, or okay. Depends on what your choices are. So in the Jonathan Ornstein kitchen, we'll never find a Domino's box in there. We'll never find a Benoli's box. Just no chain stuff?
Never. Okay. It just wouldn't occur to me. And plus, I live, within a few minute walk of really good pizza. I should also say that, I don't eat out that much because I'm married to a chef. and I'm an annoying, picky vegetarian, which also meant when I was a kid, pretty much the only thing I ate was pizza. Almost every day of my life, I ate pizza when I was a kid in New York City. So I think that's where the love of pizza comes from, and also my pickiness with other food.
Dr. Mike, any problem with chain pizzas?
I mean, chain pizza is like the one you go to when you really don't have too many choices, and it's a safe bet. It's like you were saying, it's like, yeah, if you've got nothing better, you know what to expect when you're getting a Pizza Hut pizza. It's not going to be fabulous, but it'll be fine. You'll enjoy it.
Okay, well, maybe like a mega chain like Pizza Hut or Domino's, not the best example, I guess. What about this, Jonathan? Let me throw this at you. Let's say Pizza Garden. We all agree the Pizza Garden is great. Let's say for business reasons, he opens a second location, and then a third, and then a fifth, and then a 10th, and so on, spreading to other cities. Do you lose your faith in Pizza Garden because of that?
Not necessarily. I think that, first of all, I've been talking to him about it for years. He's more of a guy that is he loves making pizza and that idea. He's somebody that probably should open a few restaurants around Poland. It would be good for Poland and good for him, but his head is not exactly there. So I don't mean to say that, once you've sold out by expanding, I'm all for the expansion. I think it can be done well. Just the point is that when you start to get to a larger amount of stores, it's very hard to do quality control. It's very hard to have people who really care about it as you can watch and keep an eye on when you're doing it.
You kind of lose that something that made you popular to begin with, I guess. It must be a really difficult balance to strike. But, I mean, you say he loves what he's doing, and I think that's the good word, because oftentimes if it's a pizza place, if it's a cafe, if it's whatever, very often these great places are a labor of love. They're not really just a for-profit thing. People are doing it because they love to do it, and it makes it popular. But then maybe one day they say, hey, if I had a second restaurant, if I had a third, I could make more money, and people want to do that, and it kind of usually tends to go downhill after that.
Usually, but there are certainly examples of places, maybe less in Poland, more, and certainly, in places that I travel to in New York, go back a lot for my family, that there are these sort of micro chains, or a restaurant that does well, and they'll open 3, 4, or 5 of them and be able to do a good job and serve more people while keeping the quality high. But as you go national or even international, it becomes very difficult, but not impossible.
What's your take on? We mentioned the crime of ketchup on pizza earlier. What's your take rather on another common situation here? Polish people tend to like sauces on the side, the garlic sauce and stuff like that on pizza. Well, what's the verdict on that?
I understand where it comes from, and even the ketchup. I wouldn't put ketchup on pizza. But what does it mean that you're putting ketchup on pizza? Is you're saying that the sauce in the pizza is insufficient, or it's not good sauce, or there's not enough of it. So I think that it comes from that. So we can sort of understand it, and the other sauces as well. If you feel that your pizza is so bland that you need to go put some garlic sauce or something on it instead of actually having ordered garlic on the pizza, which would be the more logical way, or probably better way to do it, then there you go. If you drown anything in sauce, you're doing it because the thing that you're saucing doesn't taste good enough without the sauce. So, I would say that's true about just about anything, that if you drown anything in sauce, it's because they're not great. Even if you get amazing French fries, chips, right, and from the best place, you probably aren't
ketchup though. I still want ketchup,
but probably not that much.
Not that much, but that's true.
I'd like to just contra with this statement, basically saying, I like sauces, but I won't put it all over whatever I'm eating. I'm putting it into pieces. I'll have one piece with sauce, and the next one or two I'll have without sauce. So I'm always getting contrast and flavors. So because otherwise, if you're eating a huge meal that's like just a pizza, then after a while the taste kind of all mushed together in your mouth. But if once in a while you add a little Tabasco, or you add a little garlic sauce, you get a different hit of flavors. They mix together different in your mouth, and then the next bite is your mouth has been kind of reset, your palate has been cleansed, and you're enjoying it again. At least that's my take on it.
I was at what's it called, De Grasso, a couple of weeks ago. And they brought these little side sauce things, garlic sauce and maybe something else. And I have to say, the sauce itself was pretty good. The pizza was okay, but the pizza and the sauce together was revolting to me. It's just like I like A, I like B, I don't like A with B. It was one of those situations for me, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I'm not a huge fan of Di Grasso. I haven't been there in a while.
I was there. The kids were driving me nuts. We had to stop somewhere. So there you go.
The sauces usually are to some degree masking something, but I take Dr. Mike's point, and I also like Tabasco on pizza and things. So you can just change it up a little bit is always good.
Let me throw this at you. This is another thing that we heard a lot in the comments on our Facebook page after the previous episode. Actually, it's something that Dr. Mike, you mentioned earlier before we started recording. What do you make of the whole idea of well, I work with an Italian guy and he says ... Do Italians have some kind of special insight and special credibility on this subject or what?
I mean, I think to some degree, if you would have to dig a little bit deeper, if it was an Italian guy who said, "Oh, I'm from Italy and I like pizza and I appreciate pizza and I can tell you what's good," because to be honest, you're not going to find that much really bad pizza in Italy. They're not going to stay in business as a one-off sort of mom and pop pizzeria in a big city, especially in Italy, if you're not decent. So I think that person would have some frame of reference, whereas you could technically grow up in a place that doesn't really have much pizza and you're like, "Oh, I love this pizza," but how would you know? So there's a presupposition of knowledge with an Italian who's eaten some pizza before that they generally know what's good.
I mean, it's kind of like saying like a Polish person is more likely to know about pierogi than an American, or a Scottish guy will probably know more about haggis than an Italian, for instance. I mean, really huge generalizations, yeah. But and that's why I was joking when I said "quote unquote" token Italian friend. But yeah, he's made pizza for us, and it was blew my mind. I loved it. It's probably the best pizza I've had in Krakow ever. And by the way, if you're making pizza again one night, invite us over. So I'm
in too.
So I'll take his word for it. And, the places that I mentioned, that he mentioned, everybody here seems to be pretty much more in agreement with those places.
It's just funny because, there is definitely something to it, Jonathan, as you say. They're more likely to have a background that involves kind of an education, so to speak, on pizza or whatever. But at the same time, I'm kind of leery of these, I'm Scottish or Irish, and so my opinion on whiskey trumps yours. Or, I'm American, so I know more about jazz than you do. There's this weird kind of, I don't know if it automatically entitles you to be, to end the conversation with your opinion, because you're an Italian and what you say about pizza is the last word. It's weird.
But in certain cases, I would say that there's an idea that you most probably have been exposed to X because you're from Y.
That's true.
And I think with that, but I would agree. I would say if somebody said, "Oh, I'm Polish, I grew up eating pierogies, these are good pierogi," I would be like, "Yeah, okay,
yeah, you win. I'll shut up. You win."
As opposed to an American who's probably only had frozen pierogi or on vacation.
Let me ask you one more thing before we go back to Krakow's Best Pizza. I'm curious about the price point, because I've noticed, as the quality gets better, as things change, every year it seems just like everything else, it just ding, 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 everything's a little more expensive. At what point, and I want a number from you here, at what point is a good pizza kind of pushing it in terms of price?
Pushing it, getting too expensive?
Yeah, getting too expensive.
So I went to a place today that I thought was very expensive, which was this place, The Loft, connected to this hotel on Ditla, right by Hala Targova. And it's a 24-hour pizza place. I was intrigued by this idea. And it has like a Neapolitan oven, sort of that bubbly-looking oven. So I had a very small pizza because this was research. So we had they had 3 sizes of pizza, which usually in Neapolitan pizza you'll never find. It's just a pizza. And they had the smallest pizza, which was just a margherita with mozzarella di bufala, which is expensive. The most expensive type of mozzarella cheese was 30 zloty. And I was like, okay, I normally wouldn't buy that or something. It was just try it.
And it small.
Was
how small are we talking?
Very small, like a personal,
like a one-person lunch pizza.
But that was an outlier. I haven't seen in all the pizza that I've eaten in Krakow, and I think we see that I'm eating a reasonable amount of pizza in Krakow. The price is never really like that. So I think that you're usually finding the prices. There's not a huge amount of range. The prices a little bit you do find, but especially if you're talking about a margherita pizza or something without too many toppings, then you're usually talking 20 something zloty. Depends on the on the place. If it's a fancier place like Nolio, it's going to be a bit more. If it's Vincenzo Pedone there and the Oshedle, it's going to be a little bit less. And also if they're using better ingredients. So cheese is the thing that really costs money in pizza. And if you're using buffalo mozzarella, then that's very, very expensive. And it's all obviously imported and it costs a lot. So that's going to add another probably 8 zloty, almost 10 zloty just to the price of the pizza.
Once you get north of about about 35 zlotys, I would start to say, that must be really, really good based on that price. Dr. Mike, any thoughts on pizza prices?
I mean, I moved here almost 20 years ago, and I remember pizza in most places, the prices were under 20 zlotys, even for the most, elaborate pizza. And then now, it's the margaritas that start at 17, 18 zlotys. So it's definitely gone up, but I mean, mainly that's inflation. But yeah, pizza used to be financially something that you really didn't, there was no second thought. You just like grab a pizza, you have some loose change in your pocket. But now you got to I might need 20, 30, 40 zlotys if we're going out for pizza. It's kind of a shame, but it's understandable.
I'll use Banolis as a rule of thumb. I know Dave hates Banolis. I have no problem with Banoli. Most of the time, it's acceptable. It's okay. And it's also right across the street from my place. Anyway, and now, all these pizza delivery places, they always have the standard promotion, second one, half price or something like that. Well, with a reasonable tip for the delivery guy, it's 60 zlotys now for 2 pizzas delivered. And for me, that's, from a chain place, that's kind of, right at the max that I'm willing to pay for that kind of delivery.
It's not cheap. I think that if you go to even better pizza places, I went to this place, which is a very nice place, real restaurant, amazing salad. They had this focaccia that was fantastic, sete, on Zvezdanicka, which is a real, and the pizza, first it was 23, 24 zloty for a good-sized margarita with buffalo mozzarella, but they have deals all during the week. I think it was either Wednesday or Thursday that a margarita was 15 zloty. It's a great deal.
Yeah, can't beat that. Okay, before we wrap it up, let's bring things back to our gold, silver, and bronze medalists in the competition today. We don't have to necessarily put a certain name in a certain slot, but we've established that Pizza Garden is a winner. Give me 2 or 3 other names that anybody in Krakow has to check out if they're into pizza. I know we've thrown around a lot of names. Let's narrow it down. Dr. Mike, Jonathan, anybody?
I think we've all agreed on Nolio as well.
Nolio?
As someone who doesn't eat pizza very often, I have been to Nolio. I did think it was terrific.
That's on Krakowska in the Dom Norymberski, I think it's called, right?
Yes.
And it's at the corner of Krakowska and Skałeczna, I think it is, or Piekarska, or one of those. Yeah, okay. What else?
I would throw out there Sete, this place that I was just mentioning. I think it's good. Nolio, I like it.
Sete, if you're walking starting at the Radisson, if you're walking away from the center, is it on your left or right? Where is it?
It's at the bottom, so away from the Rynek.
So it's
at the end.
It's the Sheraton end or the Radisson end?
If you're walking and you're going to make the right to Masalit, you keep walking.
Okay.
Away from the ice cream.
So it's towards Jubilat.
You make the right in the Radisson and you keep going. It's far at the end.
So it's close to the river.
Close to the river.
How do you spell Sette?
Sette. I guess it means 7 in Italian. Am I? Josh will know.
Yeah.
That's good. And I think that this place, this takeaway place, Vicente, they have one pizza that's exceptional, which is the marinara. So no cheese. So it's really the purest form was the original form of pizza. Back in the day when they invented
dough and
pizza.
Marinara, and that's
it. So you're talking about tomato sauce, maybe with a little garlic, can have something else, but basic pizza. So dough, just the bread, the base, and then marinara in this place, Vicente, which is on Wielopole and next to Bunker Sztuki.
I'm sorry, where on Wielopole? That's a short street.
It's right on the corner of Librowszczyzna, so like near the bank triangle, kind of where it splits off into a Y.
Okay, and Bunker Sztuki?
And the place it's right next to Bunker Sztuki.
That's on Plac Szczepański over there.
On Plante.
On the Plante. Sorry, which one is that called?
That's Vicente. And it's actually, that's takeaway pizza, and it's very, very good. And try the one. It's all by weight, so you can pick what they cut a piece for you. They have all different whatever's ready, but try to get the one without cheese is exceptional.
All right, final thoughts on the Krakow pizza scene.
I have to say,
good and getting better.
Absolutely. If I look at food, Krakow food over the years, and I think of how much it's gotten better, because no question, as the city's opened up, as people have traveled, as Krakow's become a richer city, as there's more corporate jobs and people have more money to spend on going out to restaurants, no question the restaurant scene is better. To me, the 2 things have jumped out at me that have really improved, and we were talking about it a little bit before the show. One is Indian food, that now you have about 40 Indian Indian places in Krakow when for years you had to. And pizza, especially Neapolitan pizza, which there must be 10 very good Neapolitan places in Krakow, as opposed to, not to get off topic, but there are other ethnic food which is popular around the world that you just don't see of any reasonable quality in Krakow. Chinese food, for example.
Mexican food.
Mexican for me is something that I really miss.
Tex-Mex,
I've never had Tex-Mex.
Yeah.
So pizza, I think the pizza scene, Krakow holds its own as a pizza city these days.
If I'll put you on the spot one more time. If New York City is a 10 when it comes to pizza, where's Krakow on the scale?
7.
Oh, not bad. Not bad at all. Probably better than Chicago, too, I guess. Chicago,
Strong 7. There is a Chicago-style pizza place in Krakow, which opened up right in Podgórze on the bridge the bridge of the Kładka Branatka. The pedestrian bridge, and it's right on the right side there. There's a place called Spaghetteria.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Right next to it, I forget the name, there's a Chicago deep dish pizza place, but I haven't tried it.
Really? Because it's only Chicago pizza, so, who cares?
I'm interested. It's just I looked at the menu once, and it didn't something.
Oh,
something
and I forgot to ask, is there anything close to New York pizza here in Krakow?
Pizza Garden, I would say, is a
Really?
good New York pizza.
Okay. Sounds like a pretty strong endorsement from a guy who knows his pizza. Well, after 2 episodes of talking about pizza, I'm pretty sure we've covered every angle there is on this subject. I suppose maybe next time. I think, John, that's a good idea from Jonathan. The Indian restaurant thing is interesting. It went from like 2 to 2,000. It seems they're everywhere, along with the gourmet burger places. And are the sushi restaurants still a thing? Are they still everywhere?
Yeah, but it seems to have kind of retreated a little.
Yeah.
It's plateaued. But the Indians, I think you have Indians working in the Indian restaurants.
Yeah.
That's what's interesting. You really have. So you must have a real huge amount of Indians who come into Krakow.
Maybe that'll be your next excuse to do some research, Jonathan. Do go out and eat at all the Indian restaurants in town.
I'm on it.
It'll take you a long time, though. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. We appreciate it. KrakCast.pl is the website. Go and check out all of our back episodes. If the spirit moves you, hit the donate button. If you like what we're doing, throw a couple of virtual coins in our direction. We appreciate it. And we'll catch you next time on the KrakCast.